Weight classes have been all the rage in powerlifting lately, with talks of lifters moving up, moving down, and these are the five lifters I think desperately need to change weight class because they're simply cutting too much weight and losing too much top end strength. With that being said, though, the second lift I'm going to talk about I actually think should move down a weight class. So, first up, we have Wascar Carpio, who I think needs to go from being a 59 to a 66. And it kind of goes without saying, being a 59 kilo lifter, which is the smallest weight class we have, at some point in your career, you're going to ask the question, I should move up. Now, Wascar famously got as high as 70 kilos in the off-season. I believe that was between 2023 Worlds and 2024 PA Nats when he got that heavy. And he had to go on something crazy like a 1,300 calorie daily intake to get down to 59. It's a wonder he even retained any strength at all doing that. But yeah, he's clearly growing out of the weight class. He struggled to make weight at Sheffield as well. He had to weigh in twice. And he's obviously hurting his top end strength potential. In the gym, his training total is now in the 660s. On the platform, he's been stuck at 638 now for the last, I think, 3 meets in a row. And I discussed this in my Sheffield Takeaways video, but I just don't think Wascar as a 59 is going to surpass Fedosienko's numbers. Speaking of which, I do think that Wascar should stay as a 59 until he has his clash with Fedosienko. After that, he should bounce. But that clash is something that needs to happen for both lifters' careers because there's never been a 59 clash anyone has ever been looking forward to ever. So the undisputed GOAT going against Wascar, who's without a doubt the most popular 59 lifter the world's ever seen, is going to be fantastic for both lifters and for the sport. However, once that clash happens, there's nothing left for Wascar as a 59 in my opinion. He's never going to surpass Fedosienko as being the 59 kilo GOAT because Fedosienko has 8 world titles and has held a world record for like 13 years. So unless Wascar rattles off another 5 world titles and adds 50 kilos to his total, he's never going to be considered the 59 GOAT. So in order for Wascar to move up the all-time great list, I think he absolutely needs to go up to 66. Next up is Jonathan Garcia. Now I actually think he should go the other way. I think he should go from being a 66 to down to the 59s. And my main reasoning is he is shorter and less lean than Wascar. So you can, compared to Wascar's photo before, Jonathan Garcia still crazy ripped, right? Still amazing physique, don't get me wrong. But he's definitely shorter than Wascar, as you can see in that recent photo they took together there at Sheffield. And I don't think he's quite as lean as Wascar either. So I think he can do it. And I think that he would have a better chance of getting to and or winning worlds as a 59. I think Shell has kind of paved the way for this, lifters moving down a weight class. I think Jonathan Garcia kind of falls into that same category as Shell, where he's very short for the weight class. And I know height isn't everything because you also have to take into account, build and just, stockiness and thickness of the frame. And without a doubt, Jonathan Garcia is definitely a shorter, stockier, thicker frame kind of guy. But I do think he can do a Shell and go down to 59s. And I do think he would benefit from that. And especially now with 66's Shell being there, Jonathan Garcia's total is, I believe, 717.5 or 715 is his best ever. I actually think he can stay in the relatively high sixes, moving down to 59s. And really, he only needs to beat Wascar, who's, 640, 630, 640, which I think he can definitely do. And he might even be the guy to break Fedosienko's world record. Now, Pana. This is the one that, without a doubt, is the most popular opinion going around right now. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is going around saying Pana needs to go up to the 74s. And I agree. I think Pana needs to go up to the 74s. He is super lean. I mean, he's probably the leanest top-level powerlifter that I can think of. I mean, look at those, delt veins. He's even got a pec vein in that top photo. I mean, look at that bottom photo. That's like crazy, crazy lean he is there. And the thing is, he's that lean and his body weight is roughly 70 kilos. I believe he's between 69 and 70 kilos usually. So the fact at that level of leanness, he still has to cut a further 3 to 4 kilos to make weight is ridiculous. And it's no wonder that he never lives up to his gym totals of around 730 to 740, which we've been seeing seemingly for a few years now. And he seems to be stuck in the high sixes, low sevens. Now, here's the thing. Pana recently, especially after his Sheffield performance, which wasn't that great, right? He's been getting a lot of flack saying, he needs to move up, and people like myself as well, right? I've been saying he's done it at 66. I will say though, and this is another reason why I think he should move up, Pana is already potentially the 66 GOAT. I think there is a strong argument to be made that Pana is the greatest 66 kilo powerlifter of all time if you look at his resume. Is he the strongest? No. Has he ever been the strongest? No, he's never held the world record. However, he's got 2 world titles, he's got an insane number of head-to-head wins, and he's beaten guys who have been objectively stronger than him on paper anyway, but he's just beaten them when it's counted at, the top level world stage. Even last Sheffield when he beat Kyota, right? So I think Pana, there's a strong argument to be made. He's a 66 GOAT. For me, I'm probably still leaning towards Charles Okpoko being that guy, but it is super close. He probably could go either way. And I think that's all the more reason for Pana to move up. I think now's the perfect time. He's done essentially all he can do in that weight class, I think, and he's probably never going to make Sheffield again. He needs to total 730s now to make Sheffield because of how much shell up the world record, which I don't think he's capable of as a 66. He's hit 730 on the platform as a 70 kilo lifter without cutting down. And I do think he has a potential to go into the high sevens as a filled out 74, which high sevens is straight away a podium threat / podium favorite at Worlds. So if you think about what that does for Pana and his resume and where that puts him in the all-time great list, podiuming in 2 different weight classes after being a 2-time world champion, I think that's probably the way to go. I know that people are saying, well, if he moves up, he's got perk. If he stays, he's got shell. Either way, either way, he's pretty far back. But the question is, would you rather be far back in a weight class where you're the strongest version of yourself, or would you rather be that far back in a weight class where you're a much more depleted version of yourself that fails to live up to any gym totals? Also, imagine the grind on Pana if he just has a little bit more mass on his frame. Imagine how much longer he could grind a squat. Imagine how much longer he could grind a bench. That'd be crazy. He's going to time out 3/4 of the way towards lockout. But yeah, Pana, I think, absolutely should move up. And similarly, Kyota Ushiyama also should move out of the 66s. Very, very similar height, build, and frame to Pana. He's also quite lean, and he's pretty much the same height as Pana. There's the best kind of screen grab I could get at the top there. But yeah, like I said, very similar frames, and very similarly to Pana, I feel like Kyota also has, relatively big cuts to do and consistently underperforms. Slightly different. I feel like Kyoto's underperformances are more to do with, I guess, technical errors, especially on his deadlift. However, you can't help but think that the weight cut plays into that a bit, right? I feel like with a more filled out frame and less depleted state, those technical issues won't be as big, and we'll see Kyota totaling a lot more. Now, as of recently, post me preparing this video, Kyota has actually announced, I believe, officially that World Games this year is going to be his last meet as a 66. So thankfully, it looks like this is actually going to happen, which is pretty cool. And we are going to see Kyota as a 74. I do think Kyota's top end strength is, as a 74, probably similar to Pana's. At the moment, I feel like his top end strength is probably a bit more than Pana. Either way, they're pretty similar. And yeah, everything I said for Pana kind of holds true. You're stuck between shell and perk, but if you're going to be behind someone, you may as well be the strongest version of yourself, aka a heavier 74. And also, I think this is a great timing because the 74's bit of a dry weight class at the moment. I'm not going to lie. it seems like everyone who's been a contender recently in the 74s in the last couple of years has either moved up to the 83s or down to the 66s, and is pretty much perk against not much else. So some fresh injections from the lower weight class in Pana and Kyota, I think, are going to do very well for that weight class and for the competitiveness. And again, Kyota, world record, former world record holder in the class, multiple time world's podium medalist. I do believe he has potential to go high sevens, maybe even pushing 800 and be a strong podium threat for worlds, which would, do quite a bit for his legacy. And finally, Russell Orhii, I think, should go to 93s. He is just too damn big and too damn muscular to be an 83. I mean, look at that frame. That is ridiculous. I know he's a bit of a shorter guy, but you can't look like that as an 83 lifter. You shouldn't, really. And the thing is, he's already the 83 GOAT. If you were of the opinion that Ross was not the 83 GOAT, then after Sheffield, I feel like that should be a consensus right now. I know there was still a few Brett Gibbs fans who were holding out and, not willing to accept Ross as the 83 GOAT, but come on. I know he didn't win his third world title like he wanted, which is, he's openly said if he had won that world title in Lithuania last year, he already would have left and been a 93 this year. However, he just couldn't leave on that loss, which is fair enough. But he got his revenge now. He beat Duran's head-to-head in his backyard. He also beat one of the up-and-coming younger lifters who happened to be the world record holder at the time in Ade, also in his backyard, or in his home country. And so he got revenge against the guy that beat him at Worlds. He beat one of the up-and-coming future bright stars of the sport. I feel like now is as good a time as any for him to decide to go up to 93s. And he is, 2 world titles, 6 or 7 national titles, heaps of world records, long undefeated reign, avenged both his losses ever. He's without a doubt the divisional GOAT. And I think it's time he realizes his true strength potential, which is insane. His gym lifts are way bigger than his comp lifts. I've actually went through and looked at every single one of his top lifts, and this is from a few years back, but his all-time gym PBs add up to 930. I did the research on that. Now, this was done not on the same day. This was several training sessions, even several training blocks apart. Was it comp standard? No. Was the squat a little high and on pound plates? Yes. Did he kind of drop the deadlift? Yes. Was it a bit of a touch and go bench with his butt coming off? Yes, he was. But 930, he did that at a bodyweight of, I believe, around 90 kilos, potentially a bit more what he walked around at the time when it was a bit heavier. He also did a meet back in 2022 as a 90 kilo lifter, basically just him not cutting, and he totaled 885, which is ridiculous. At the time, that was more than what the IPF 93s were totaling, right? And now I think he pretty much matched that at Sheffield. I know I'm not going to say any more about his last deadlift because I know it's been talked about by myself and by other people plenty already. All I'm going to say is Ross totaled 883 in my heart. But yes, he's in the 880s as an 83. So imagine what he's going to be when he moves up to the 93s and not only has to not cut, but also potentially add a bit more mass, although it's hard to imagine how much more mass he can add looking like that. And where his total is going to be. I believe he's going to be well into the 900s, and I do believe he's capable of eventually hitting a 930 or close to 930 total, because that is where the 93s are heading right now. The 93s are well and truly into the 900s, and I feel like that heaviest ever 10 times bodyweight raw total of 930 is going to fall sometime soon, and Ross could well be the guy to hit that. Also, there's only ever been 2 multi-division world champs on the men's side, Krzysztof Wierzbicki and Anatoly Novopesmeni. If Ross does that after being the consensus 83 GOAT already and adds a 93 title to his resume, he's up there as one of the GOATs, period. So yes, Ross, now's the perfect time, fresh off that Sheffield amazing performance. Now is the time to go to the 93s. Also, I am continually upgrading my audio setup and playing around with different things. So hopefully this is the best it's been so far. But again, let me know. It is a work in progress. I will get there eventually. And yeah, Russ, time to move up, buddy.